Hello and welcome to another bonus episode of Sports and Songs podcast. My name is Dan. Today's going to be an overview of the Minnesota Twins off season. Last year, we started doing this to keep the folks and to keep the fans up to speed. It's very tough to tread the waters of the off season here in Minnesota because of the negativity in the press and various social media. It's very, very negative. It's very cloudy. And what I've done here the last couple of years is provide updates on the Twins off season with more of a realistic approach of what's really going on versus some assumptions and things that are going on. So once a month in the off season, I'm going to put together a summary like this and just get the fans, the true Twins fans, up to speed on the roster, the organization, what's going on, putting it down into layman's terms so everyone can understand and have a breath of fresh air of what is going on. Now, today is November 7th. So this week there were some cuts to the 40-man roster. So the 40-man roster has to get cleaned up here in the offseason to make room for both minor league players that are being promoted, minor league players that are prospects that want to be protected from that Rule 5 draft. We'll get into that. And also room on the roster for free agent acquisition pickups and such. So the first thing is to get the cuts underway. So this week, the Twins removed from the 40-man. In other words, they outrighted them. There's a 48-hour window that these players are cleared to get picked up by other teams. Once that window passes, they can elect what they want to do. Each of these did not get picked up and have declared free agency. So they're no longer on the Twins major league roster. They're not on the Twins minor league roster. They're not on the 40-man. They are outright free agents. And so this explains some of the reason during the year the Twins will pick up what I call low-hanging fruit, inexpensive pitchers, inexpensive free agents, just to get them through the year, knowing they're going to cut them anyway. So Thomas Hatch, people during the season last year really wondered, why did we pick up some of these players? Michael Tonkin, Genesis Cabrera, Anthony Mizovich. And so the question is, the Twins organization, in my belief, my opinion, is that they knew they were not going to be around. They're just a one-year rental player. Let's pick them up cheap. Let's get some use out of them. And then at the end of the year, when you need to make tough decisions on who to cut, it makes it very easy. Hatch, Tonkin, Cabrera, Mizovich. I have no problem with any of these four being cut and becoming free agents. So that is good. Now that clears up right there because they were on the 40-man roster. Clears up 4 spots. The other pitcher is Cody Larison. Twins draft pick. Did pretty good. I was hoping they'd keep him around. They moved him off of waivers, and within 48 hours, the Angels picked him up. So he has been signed. He will be with the Angels this year. So he's I would say probably the best of the 5 here, and rightly so. He got away. Now that's also okay, as we'll get to later when we get into the depth chart. Infielder Jose Miranda, 40-man roster, was moved off the roster. The 48-hour window elapsed. No one picked him up. He declared free agency as well. Now he was a Twin pickup, an actual draft, and moved up through the minors very good, made the majors, had a couple of good seasons, drove in over 100 major league runs for the Minnesota Twins, but basically batted 167 last year for the Saints, couldn't get going in the minors, could not hit the ball at the minor league level. He played third base, also could play first, very versatile. The Twins do like the versatile guys. But I have no problem here cutting Miranda loose, as we'll see with the depth chart. There is guys behind him that can play. Hopefully Jose will get picked up, and a fresh start could do him good. So those are the players that were cut. Now to make room. So let's get into the payroll here. Let's get into the payroll. I know this is kind of small here, but the main thing we're going to focus on this chart is the 40-man roster. You see down the left, 40 players there. So because it's off season, we don't care about the Twins versus the AAA club, the Saints. It's just 40-man roster. Here's the pay and what their pay will be going out the next 5 years. So by getting rid of some of these guys with long-term contracts, Randy Dobnak, Carlos Correa. Those guys now being gone, it really makes our chart here clean and easy to read. As you see, Buxton has 3 more years left on the deal. He is staying put. Pablo Lopez, 2 more years. Everyone else is on for 2026. Unless there's some arbitration, some extensions, things like that down the road. Going into the offseason, this chart is pretty clean. Those are the players listed alphabetical, the positions they play, and under status. I added a new thing this year to see whether they're in arbitration, pre-arbitration, guaranteed contract, things like that. Most of these contracts, basically all of them in 2026, are locked in for their pay. Payroll is not what we're covering today on the episode, but just wanted to give the fans here an update as far as pay, because I know this keeps coming up. The Twins' low payroll, the poll ads not wanting to spend. All that's fine and good, but here's where we're at for 2026. The people in shading, the shaded numbers are the folks in arbitration. Those are estimates of what they're going to be paid. I believe they're fairly close. Once those get locked in over the offseason here, I'll plug those in, but it's not going to change that much. Right now, we got 33 guys on the 40-man roster. So what that means, there's 7 open spots. So I've got those listed as open, 7 open spots. And so by November 18th, 11 days from now, this 40-man roster needs to be locked in and solidified. And so there's going to be some movement coming in. Only in the face, I think, coming in. There may be some guys moving out, but let's focus on the guys coming in. 33 players currently locked in to play for the Twins in some capacity next year. 7 openings yet. Payroll there is, we're talking 85.6 million right there. The other thing I wanted to point out with this is to show that with those 33 guys, we're roughly at 85 million. You got to add in Correa, another 10. The grand total payroll is at 95. We still have those 7 extra positions. But keep in mind that with Correa being traded to the Astros, the Twins did agree on that trade to eat 10 million of his salary for 2026. The Twins will eat. They will write those checks for $10 million total for Correa. So the Astros are not paying $10 million of his salary. And then after this year, that closes out. So this is a 5-year projection here for the pay, for the number of payments. So what this does is really shows the cuts that were made, the extra room on the salary. The other reason for those 40-man roster to be locked up by the 18th of November. So 11 days, they've got to look for these promotions now from the minors, some prospects and the minors to be brought up to be protected. Anyone not on this list that meets the requirements or the criteria for the Rule 5 is exposed to be possibly snapped up or snatched up by another team. So look for those promotions to come up there to make up some, if not all, those 7 remaining spots. The Twins also could be active in the free agent activity by picking up and acquiring people here in the next 11 days. I'm not going to touch on that today at all. For today's show, it's going to be just status quo. If the Twins as an organization do not make any pickups or drop-offs, what does the team look like going into 2026? What does the team look like? So there's the players, there's the rosters, there's the 33 guys. And so the next thing to bring up here is if you break out that 40-man roster for the offseason, remember, in the offseason, you're wearing the cap of the 40-man roster. Once spring training starts, you start looking at it from this perspective. Here, my title is 2026 Potential Depth Chart. The category here is Major League Baseball for the Twins. Who's going to make that potential depth chart here without making any additions? How does the depth chart look with 26 players? The next thing I've got to the right is the AAA St. Paul Saints. Who will make the roster projection? My opinion, this is the potential depth chart of who will make the 28-man roster for the St. Paul Saints. And then on the right, we'll touch on later is the question mark people that could come into play. So once again, this is as of today, 11/7/2025. Here's the potential depth chart for the Minnesota Twins. Let's go through this. And keep in mind when we go through this, the narrative we're getting from social media, the narrative we're getting from the typical Twins fans of we depleted the roster. We've got nobody left. The fire sale was a disaster. The Twins are going to lose 100 games this year. Keep all those things in mind because when you look at the depth chart, very little has changed. Let's start at the top. I've got the starting pitchers here. Major League Baseball, for purposes of this, I'm just going to go with 5 starting pitchers in order for the Minnesota Twins. You've got Lopez, Ryan, Ober, Festa, Woods, Richardson. Really nothing. No changes there. Now, could there be trade? Could there be trade bait? Could there be some offseason moves? Yes. But for the purpose of this show, let's assume nothing. Let's assume this roster stays stagnant. That, to me, is a pretty darn good 5-man rotation. Nothing really changes. Ober had a bad year. Festa was in and out of injuries. Woods Richardson really was the best pitcher when the season came to the end. But during the offseason, with everyone healthy and starting fresh, I like that. I like that 5-man rotation. Let's go down to the next section called RP. Those are relief pitchers. Going down top to bottom, I've got a suffix there of mid. Those are mid relievers, mid-inning relievers, or in other words, long relief. Then I've got a couple setup guys. Twins call those, Major League Baseball calls those, basically your 8th inning setup guys. And then 1 closer. Now, these are all estimates. These are all projections. Basically, I'm dropping in who I think are going to be the mid-inning guys to eat innings. This may not be correct, but for the purpose of the show, we're putting guys in spots just to show who's left. So I've got Pearson Ole, mid-relief, Travis Adams, Funderburk, Cody, Marco Raya, number 18 prospect. He was a top 5 prospect last couple of years. The Twins really like him. He isn't going anywhere. But he's been a starter all this time. He's been a starter. He has not been doing well. He was a blue chipper, so to say. His stock has fallen because he can't go those multiple innings. He can't go the long innings. He was projected to come up and make the big leagues in 2025 for the Minnesota Twins. That didn't happen, as he still floundered around in the minor leagues with the Saints. Now, that being said, he's a good pitcher. Look for them to move him into a mid-relief role and get him out of that starting habit and move him into the bullpen. And I think he could be a very good guy. Look for him to break camp here with this projection, on my opinion here, that he'll break camp with the Twins in the bullpen. Marco Raya, look for him. And then you get Cole Sands to eat up a bunch of innings itself. Now, for the setup guys, you got Daniel Duarte, injured most of the year, will be healthy. The Twins do like him. He's another veteran presence. A lot of youth on this roster, a lot of youth. So the veteran guys are going to provide the mentorship here, along with, I've got another setup guy as Cole Percival, and then I got the closer as Justin Topa. They just signed him. He is on the team for 1 more year, too. The Twins like him. He's another veteran guy. Will he be the closer? I don't know. For the purpose of this show, let's just say Topa will be used in closing roles. There's your 13 Twins pitchers. Active roster is 26. The Twins go with 13 pitchers, 13 fielders, and defensemen. So those are 13 that I've got right there. Now let's move on down to the catcher. 2 Twins will typically go with 2 catchers. Jeffers will be the first guy there. Very good. I like him offensively, defensively. Jeffers, I like him playing about 67% of the time there. Catcher number 2 or the backup. This was where Vasquez came in, and the Twins made that big contract, $10 million for 3 years. A year, 10 a year. That's a $30 million the Twins have paid Vasquez. That was overpaying. They opened the checkbook too big. I think that was a fail. Great catcher defensively, great catcher for mentoring as a mentor. Got along very good with the pitchers, but I think you're going to see Johnny Pareda there move into that second role. He's a former Red Sox. The Twins picked him up. Typically, you'll have 2 or 3 catchers. Now, Mickey Gasper is another guy that can catch. And the Twins, this is old philosophy. I'm not too sure how it's going to be with the current coaching situation, but the Twins in the past really liked guys that could be versatile and play many positions. In other words, plug and play. Mickey Gasper was one of those that can also catch. I have just two listed here for the purposes of catcher. First base, Cody Clemens. He also can play multiple positions, but I got him as breaking camp as the Twins' first baseman. Luke Keeschel at second. Shortstop, Brooks Lee. Third base, Royce Lewis. What I like about this is that the Twins were unsuccessful, I think, in my opinion. Twins were unsuccessful on defense over the last couple of years with some of these younger players because they kept moving them around. Brooks Lee was projected to play first a couple of years ago. He was projected to play second base. They wanted him at third base. Brooks Lee was a former number one draft pick. And as a young guy like that, trying to work his way out in the major leagues, I think it suffered. His production suffered. Getting him as the regular shortstop for the season and ruling out all these other playing positions, I think you're going to see a big year out of Brooks Lee just because he's going to be stable. Luke Keeschel's going to start the year at second base. He's another guy that's going to be stable, barring or pending any injuries. A phenomenal player there at second base, offensively and defensively, is Luke Keeschel. Clemens was a great pickup there on a trade with the Phillies during the season last year, and I like him as well. Royce Lewis at third. If he can stay healthy and get back on track with hitting, I like him as an everyday third baseman as well. Now, this opens up the three utility spots. Three utility for a typical major league team will have three. The Twins picked up Ryan Kreidler. Nothing was said on this in social media or nothing that I saw. Ryan Kreidler, a very important pickup here in the offseason, they picked up. DFA'd by the Pittsburgh Pirates, played under Derek Shelton for Pittsburgh. Shelton was brought on as the new manager for the Twins. Kreidler, I think, was part of that discussion to bring him on as a utility guy. They have him listed as center field. But here's where Kreidler plays. He's played games in the major leagues at third base. He's played games at second base. He's played a lot of games. Most of his career, biggest chunk of his career in the major leagues, was at shortstop. So with Brooks Lee at short, you need a backup. It looks to me like Kreidler could make the spot there as the backup, and that's why they picked him up. Ryan Kreidler, get to know that name. He's played center field. The Twins like to have backups behind Buxton in center field as well because they don't use him that often, and he's prone to injury. So Kreidler, I think, could be the guy no one's thinking about here. As I believe he's 27 years old. He's not a big hitter. Does not hit for average. Maybe that'll turn around. But for defensive purposes, I think the Twins like his versatility there for Ryan Kreidler. Even late inning defensive substitutions to get on the field. This could be a good pickup. And once again, I don't hear anyone talking. I hear the social media negativity about the Twins are depleted. They've got no depth. Who are they going to get in the offseason? Who are they going to sign? What free agents? What's the payroll limit? What's going to happen with all these cuts? And how bad the Twins are going to suck this year. Let's just look at this depth chart. I think they're sitting pretty good. The other utility is Mickey Gasper. He can play second base. He can play first base. He can catch. Once again, I don't think the Twins like him for his offensive power or his batting average. As we all saw, he did not do that well. Some say should be just a career minor league guy, a great AAA baseball player. He can do it all at the AAA level. I think he'd be bored sitting down there with the Saints playing there. But if they need to move guys up and down and move guys that are versatile, Gasper could be the guy. But I see him breaking camp with the team, at least giving the Twins him one other shot here because of his versatility. And then also because he plays second, you get the backup behind Keeschel at second base. Cody Clemens can also play second base. Cody Clemens can also play outfield. But I think if they narrow down the versatility of these guys and get them with defensive homes, you're going to see much better output offensively from these guys because they can stay focused. The other thing I want to mention here on the show too is with Rocco Baldelli last year, the batting order was different every game. The batting order was moved around, it was shuffled, and I think you get better productivity out of ball players in the batting order once you lock them into their spot. If you get Royce Lewis batting every day in the 3 hole, Buxton, you know, instead of being moved around, keep these guys consistent. And I'm hoping Derek Shelton will do that. It's one of the things I did not like about Rocco is that offensively, the batting order moved around all the time. So I think there's twofold here in the offseason. If the Twins could get some stability in defense, get some stability. And I mean, Keishel playing every day at second, Lee every day at short, Lewis every day at third. Get these young guys, these athletes out on the field every day rather than giving all this rest in between. The other utility is Austin Martin. Austin Martin really was almost the Twins, one could argue, their MVP for the year for what he hit offensively and the positions he can play defensively and the base running talent Austin Martin has. I like him. He can play left field. He can play second base. They can use him. They've used him in the past at center field. I don't personally like that myself. My opinion, he's not a center fielder. You can use him in left or right as a corner outfielder. He should suffice just fine, but get him out of center field. Martin is not a center fielder, but he's very versatile in the other positions he can play. He's also can come in and pinch run. He can come in off the bench. He's a utility guy. He's another plug and play guy, Austin Martin. If all these guys are healthy, this should be a good roster. Now let's get into the outfield. Left field, Alan Roden. Twins picked him up from the Blue Jays. He's a corner outfielder. Corner outfield, left or right. Don't put him in center field. And he also plays first base. Alan Roden. I think that because he can also play first base, it's another reason the Twins picked him up. They like the versatility there. They can bring someone in to do that. Center field, I've got Buxton. Once again, hopefully every day he can play, maybe some days off here and there. But they do have backups if he gets hurt. They can also use him as a DH on his days off. Right fielder is Matt Wallner. Some are expecting him to be gone, jettisoned off the roster. But the home run potential that this guy hits, and I think he plays a good right field. I'd like him in right field. A big hitter. I don't care too much about the strikeouts when it comes to Wallner because when he puts the ball in play, he does well. I've got him as the right fielder to start. The fourth outfielder I've got is James Outman. James Outman. Outman is the center fielder backup the Twins picked up from the Dodgers in that trade that sent Brock Stewart over back to the Dodgers. Outman is a center fielder only, really plays outfield in the center spot as Buxton's backup. I do like that. Rocco last season did play Outman a lot in left and right. Not a fan of that. He's not a corner outfielder. Outman is strictly a center fielder. Also talented defense. Offensively, you don't see much production out of Outman. Maybe you will this year, but that's what I've got for the 26-man starting lineup for the Minnesota Twins in the Major League Baseball. Now, that may be right, that may be wrong, but that's as of today. Now, let's go to the AAA St. Paul Saints. If you're not interested in the Saints, you can drop off the call at this point and not have to listen anymore. But I think this is very impactful because this directly drives the 40-man roster and the subs and the backups for the Major League as injuries occur at the Twins level. I've added 2 extra spots here. The Minnesota Saints, AAA, have a 28-man roster, 28-man roster. So I've added a spot there. Row number 6 is starting pitcher number 6. And I've just added a 5th outfielder there to make up that extra spot. So let's go through the list. I've got Saints starting the year, breaking the year with Zebby Matthews as their ace, starting pitcher number 1, Mick Abel, number 2, Taj Bradley, number 3, Matt Canterino, number 4. Canterino was hurt in 2023 and in 2024. We have not heard the name. And also on social media, I have not heard Canterino's name bandied about. Twins are very high on him, but I do believe this will be his last chance. I think that they're going to give him one last chance to move the needle with the Twins, a very high-end, high-ceiling starting pitcher for the Twins. I think he's going to start at AAA there. He's not yet made his big league debut, but keep his name in mind, Matt Canterino, very high talent. But if the season goes on, he gets hurt again, look for him to be tossed aside, as I don't think they have any more chances to wait on this guy to develop, because look who's up behind him. Andrew Morris, number 19 prospect. I've got him. He should also be in the big leagues this year, 2026. Look for Morris to make the big leagues. But look at all the starting pitching he is behind. He's the number 19th prospect currently, Andrew Morris. Very good pitcher there for the Saints. And then they've got Kendry Rojas. Rojas, number 5 prospect. Number 5 prospect for the Twins. For this starter, picked up with I think this was with the Blue Jays in the fire sale last year. Rojas could be a mainstay for the next couple of years in the Twins' 5-man starting rotation starting in 2027. Look for this kid. Now let's move down to the relievers. This is at the Saints now. Keep in mind, this is the relief corps for the Saints. Corey Lewis, Gillespie, Trent Baker, Christian McLeod, and local pitcher Aaron Rozek, Burnsville grad. Then for setup, I've got Mike Paredes there, Connor Prelip. Prelip, number 9 prospect. It does seem they're fast-tracking him to make the big leagues. Look for him to move up. I don't know if he's going to be a setup guy, mid-relief, closer. I've just got him slotted there as a setup guy. The Twins have a high ceiling. They like him. And also Jared Wharf. I think that's to be the when the Saints break camp, assuming no injuries and no big additions or subtractions on the roster, this should be, in a perfect world on paper, the Saints starting active roster. Now on the right side, I got John Klein there with a question mark off to the right. We know there will be injuries, and so Klein should make the Saints opening day roster. Just for the purposes of this, I see him as the odd man out. And he's a starter. He's a reliever. He can be used in multiple locations there. Now let's get into the other bottom of the order here for the Saints. Catching, I've got Nick Cardenas and Patrick Winkle. 2 guys you don't hear too much about for catching. I think those guys will make the roster opening day for the Saints. Aaron Sabato at first, another former first-round draft pick for the Twins. If Clemens doesn't work out and the Twins don't sign a big-name free agent at first base, Sabato could be moved up already. In fact, Sabato could make the Twins opening day roster as they break camp as the everyday first baseman. Sabato is more of a DH first baseman only, cannot play other positions. He's a power-hitting, prototypical first base DH. Higher strikeout rate, drives in a lot of runs. I do believe that for Sabato, this is his final chance with the Minnesota Twins organization. This will be his last year. He has not produced. He's been up and down and injured and just not done much of anything. This last season, 2025, saw him put up some of his biggest numbers in his career. So this could be a flash in the pan. We'll see what happens with Sabato, but I do like him. I made a tweet earlier this year in the offseason before the season ended that he will be in 2026 the everyday first baseman for the Minnesota Twins. We'll see if that pans out. I do like that. He's another guy that I don't think people mention too much. Second base, Patrick Elis. He's another guy that could come up. Very good, high ceiling guy. Very good hitter, very good defensively. He's not going to last too long in the minors. I think this is another guy that the Twins could use as trade bait. He could be a guy starting right now in the major leagues at second base, I believe. He doesn't get talked about that much. Very high talent for the good guy there. Short little second baseman, so look for him. I think because Keishel's the long-term fix there at second base, Elis could be trade bait. Shortstop for the Saints, I've got Ryan Fitzgerald starting there. He's another guy he's made his debut, played in the majors before. He's going to be kind of floundering about as a shortstop in the minor leagues. He could be another guy that could be picked up. He could be playing as a backup in the major leagues right now, I think, on another major league team. Jonah Bride. Twins picked up Jonah Bride last year as a third baseman, also first base platoon. This helped spell the reason Jose Miranda is no longer with the club. They both play third. They both play first. So Bride, another guy there that could be third baseman, I think, starting the season with the Saints. Utility, Tanner Schobel, Will Holland, Eduardo Julian are the three guys I've got there. Um, Julian, former pro, Schobel, and Holland have yet to make their pro debut, but they've got some. Those guys can play outfield. Those guys can move around as well. Saints are very good at moving guys around, getting them experience. So if they get called up to the big leagues, they're ready to play at multiple positions. Those are very good utility guys. Now, let's get into the outfield for the Saints. Gabriel Gonzalez, left field, number 8 prospect. I've got him breaking camp with the Saints. I've got Walker Jenkins, center field with the Saints. He's the current number 1 prospect for the entire Twins organization. And Emmanuel Rodriguez, currently the number 4 prospect for the entire Twins organization. He's the right fielder. Now, what we've got here for the Saints is that we're stacked in the outfield with the Saints. With the current Twins setup with the Major League club, if there's an injury, we got guys that can quickly come up. We have potential trade bait. I don't see the Twins trading Rodriguez. They really like him. But my favorite player to watch this whole last year, 2026 in the minors, was Gabby Gonzalez. Gabby Gonzalez in left. He's the guy that put up numbers offensively and defensively that I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have been called up to make the Twins last year already in 2025. Gonzalez is the guy to watch here. Yes, we know Jenkins is good. We know Rodriguez has potential. But those guys dealt with various injuries on and off through the year. Gonzalez went on a tear for the entire season. And I think he's might be the first of any of those guys getting called up to the Twins. I also think because of the depth that the Twins have, he could be a trade bait. Gabby Gonzalez. I think you could get a bunch for him if Twins end up dealing him. Now, if those 3 starters are both top 10 prospects in the entire organization are your starting outfielders for the Saints, you're going to be sitting pretty good. So for the extra outfielder, I've got Carson McCusker, basically a right fielder with power. We all found out last year that he's not going to be able to do much at the major league level. A great minor league player, 6'8", right fielder with power. I don't know if he's going to make the Twins roster again or if he's going to be another trade bait guy. I don't know if the Twins have any use for him at the major league level with the amount of depth that they have. Look for McCusker to start the year at AAA, possibly get traded. I just don't know. He's a big question mark. And then we got Kyler Fedko, another guy that doesn't get mentioned much. Kyler Fedko, infield guy, converted to outfield, plays right field. Very versatile. Put up big numbers this year. And he's probably going to break camp with the Saints. I don't know where there's going to be room for him at the Twins major league roster, but look for Kyler Fedko. He's another name that if the Twins want a deal, he's another guy that could be starting 2026 on a major league roster somewhere. I just don't see that happening with the Twins. Look for him to be a potential trade bait. Now let's look at the question marks on the right-hand side. Look who I've got for left field, Larnach. I don't have a home for Trevor Larnach. I know they like him as a DH. They like him in left. I like him in left. I like him as a DH. I like him all around. But is there going to be room for Larnach on this roster? Is he going to be a guy they trade? He could be a starting everyday DH for another team right now, much like a Brent Rooker. Well, with the A's these past few years, the Twins got rid of, and now he's done very well there with Oakland. Larnach might be that guy. Unless there's an early season injury somewhere, I don't know if he's going to make that opening day roster for the Twins or the Saints. I don't know where he's going to fit. Deshaun Kiersey Jr., the other guy, very good center fielder, a true center fielder, fast, wheels, good on the base paths. The Twins like him. I don't know where they're going to put him. They brought him up. He did not do too well at the major league level. He could be another McCusker guy that's just not going to fit. He could be a trade bait guy. But with Jenkins in center, and then you already have James Outman in center at the major league level and Byron Buxton, Kiersey Jr. Could be the odd man out there. I'm not sure where that's going to end up. Once again, we're not talking today anything as far as pickups, free agents, or big-time offseason acquisitions. But if the status quo was there, I think the Twins right now with that roster look very good. I think the Saints with their opening day roster look very good, both offensively, defensively, depth, the pitching. Those guys all look stacked there. They all look stacked. Last thing here to mention, Derek Shelton announces the new Twins manager, Rocco Baldelli, was let go. I do believe the Pohlads and the Twins as an organization as a whole needed to make some change. Rocco, I don't think necessarily managed bad. I don't think anything was really his fault. But they had to make an offseason change. They had to do something. So sorry to see Rocco go. Derek Shelton's going to come in now. I did listen to the press conference announcing him. I do like his philosophy. I do like the fact that he's managed a wealth of experience over the years in managing roles, coaching roles, minor leagues, major leagues. He was with the the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was former bench coach here under Molitor and Rocco. Him and Rocco, good friends. I think this guy is going to put to bed some of this chemistry this team needed. He has spent the last 4 years with Paul Skeens on his roster for the Pirates. This is going to really help, I believe, with the Twins starting pitching and his be able to evaluate and have the starting pitching do their thing. Rocco was known as a little bit of a short leash for the starting pitchers, and they didn't really get along with him. He's an outfielder by trade, and so I don't know how well that worked in the clubhouse as the manager with the starting pitcher and guys. Maybe not getting along that well with Rocco. Once again, I stated earlier, I did not like his batting order. I did not like the guys platooning all the time and the players moving around. I'm a fan of having everyday defensive players at that position. Use the subs when you need them, if they're tired, if they're hurt, if they're injured. But all these planned days off gets to be a lot. And so maybe Shelton will fix some of those things. I do like he assigned himself number 8. Great number there. I think Shelton will do good for the Twins. He's a positive, optimistic guy. He likes to get into the details, practicing everything. This would be a good pickup for the Twins. I do like him right off the bat. I think that's a positive pickup. Good stuff. Now, when you're looking at social media, follow shows like ourselves here for social media. Twins updates, Twins roster moves, Twins depth chart, Twins activity in the offseason, what they're doing and why. It shows like this that give the straight facts as far as what's happening. Like I said earlier, a lot of the writers on the Twins, a lot of the social media accounts for the Twins, you're going to see the same narrative parroted about using the exact same phrases, along with hatred for the Pohlads, hatred for the team, and how much this team sucks. You're going to see a lot of that on social media. My recommendation for you is to follow Matthew Leach. He's the new beat writer for the Twins last year. Very good guy, very non-biased. He writes what's going on. He doesn't favor certain things. He's not pessimistic about things or optimistic. He's non-biased. He's providing the reports. And if a lot of these other writers and social media podcast influencers and whatnot would do that, we'd have a lot more true information on teams like the Minnesota Twins. But right now we're hearing constant, even to this day, I've seen tweets from fans telling the Pohlads to sell the team, hurry up and sell the team. Let's remember, the team is not for sale. The team was for sale. The team was for sale. But those days are done. They have pulled back and pulled out. There is no sale. The Pohlads are not selling. The Pohlads are not going anywhere. So just keep that in mind when you see the social media posts and you hear all this negativity. They're not willing to spend. The payroll is going to suck. They've got no payroll. The Twins are going to lose 100 games this season. We just went through the exact payroll. We went through the detail of the payroll. We went through the depth chart of the team. There doesn't need to be many off-season acquisitions at all. There doesn't need to be any free agent big name pickups at all. That being said, there probably will be a handful of movement here or there, but because of the Twins' depth, because of the Twins' farm system, and because of the number of players, of quality players the Twins picked up at that fire sale, yes, they got rid of 11 players the end of July last year. Yes, that's all we heard about is that they scrapped the roster. They scrapped the starting lineup. They scrapped the active roster. We keep hearing this 40% of the team has gone bye-bye. Keep in mind, 25 to 30% of those that were gone were going to be gone at the end of the year anyway. Now, instead of losing them and not getting anything in return, the Twins, as a front office, made a wise choice to trade. Now you're getting something in return for people you're not going to have on the roster anyway. They weren't going to have any plans, the future plans of the roster, the Harrison Baders, the Ty Francis, some of those big names, the Christian Vasquez, Chris Paddock. It's fine to get rid of those guys. That's what the purpose of the trade deadline is for. So now you can get someone in return that you can utilize down the road. The Twins currently have the number 2 best farm system. I'll repeat that. The Twins have the number 2 best farm system. So the talent pool with the Minnesota Twins and the affiliates down in the minors is huge. They're going to be able to pull up guys from within over the next few years. And this is going to be a solid, fun team to watch. I did order my season tickets for the first time. I'm excited about the season for the Twins. I'll be doing podcasts like this once a month during the off season, just to give the fans a true factual-based update on the Twins organization, where they stand. Whether you like the owners or not, whether you like the management or not, whether you like the VP of operations, whether you like the general manager. There's a lot of debate on who people, when I hear fans talking of who they like and who they hate and who they dislike. For shows like this, it's going to be the facts of the players. Toss your opinions out the window on who your favorite person to hate in the Twins organization, and just look at the team, the product that's on the field. It's going to be a fun season. I think very exciting. Please leave your comments below with what you think, anything that may have been missed. Look forward to those December Rule 5 Major League Draft, and also look forward to those free, that 40-man roster, those spots filling up there by November 18th, that deadline. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Twins do with that 40-man roster. Currently, once again, they're sitting at 33 guys.